Hello, everybody, and welcome to ALD No Limits. I'm Christy with ALD.
And I'm Ken with AMN. Our special guest this episode is Janine. Welcome to ALD No Limits.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Welcome.
Yay! We're so
Yay!
excited too. So, before we get into the ALD story, your family's story, tell us about what you're drinking.
Oh, I am. So this is my concoction to help with inflammation. So we've
Awesome.
got lemon and ginger. So lemon for vitamin C, ginger for inflammation, and then turmeric, black pepper, because black pepper advances the turmeric. So you always, if you do turmeric, you always want to add black pepper and some cinnamon. So, anyways,
Ooh.
just
Awesome.
just a little refreshing. I mean, it takes sometimes a little while to get used to. It's not as good as our pomegranate juice drink, but
Well, yeah, I
are
was getting there. So, Janine,
those are good.
when was it, Ken? Was it 2 years ago?
2024, I think, in DC, I believe.
Yes,
It's
yes,
2024.
that's where it was.
We met you in person there.
Yes, yep.
And you told us about this ALD mocktail. Well, they said the bartender sort of invented it, right?
Yes, she did, and it was great. But it was actually, for me, I think that was like a real aha moment, because it was refreshing and exciting and exuberating, and at the same time, it gave me a little boost of energy without the oxidative stress caused by alcohol.
Yeah.
So
There you go. There you go.
anyways.
It was, yeah, an inspiration for sure.
So
So, yeah, let's get to know Janine. So, before you get into the story about ALD, let's hear about you, where you're from, any hobbies you have.
Okay, I have lots of hobbies. So my name is Janine Medley, perfect name for me because I've had many. I was adopted at birth, so I have that initial name, which was Baby Girl Love, and that I always think is very interesting. That really was my mother's maiden name, and love is the one thing that I've always been about. I love everything and everyone, and I think that that's what's got me to this point. So being able to shove the things that I don't think are so nice aside and kind of forget about them. But we'll get back to that later. I could think that that's part of the issues. But anyways, art, back in, I never would have considered myself an artist, a good copycat in some cases, but not super artistic. But then at the same time, I was always thinking outside the box. I was always a repurposer, even back as a child. Like I would see something, I go, oh, I could do this with that. Kind of inventive, I suppose, which is actually a trait that my ALD generations are very good at. It's interesting to see the things that even my granddaughter comes up with these days.
Love it.
So anyway, so that's a little bit about that. I do a lot of artwork. As again, I wouldn't say that I'm an artist, but I did find after Jonathan passed away, life circumstances. I had been in a car accident and it was Christmas time and I had my two girls to take care of. And so I didn't have a lot of money. And so I started painting things for them. We had, just little ornaments and things like that. And as I did, I started having these memories and realized that I could really get into just my own zone with a paintbrush in my hand. And it was like, oh, hey, just things that came to me like, hey, we're all products of our own environment. So you can't blame your parents for the things that they didn't know. You have to have gratitude for the things that they did do. And, those kind of things. And just, and then also forgiveness for self, because, you can't hold yourself responsible for something that you don't know or understand either. And so that has been kind of, I think that was the beginning catalyst of where I really started to have connection with my own inner thoughts rather than, oh my gosh, it's time for medicine. Oh my goodness, we've got 5 doctor's appointments. Oh my goodness, it's time to go to school and we're late. Oh, I have moved my watch to the other arm because I had this thought a few weeks ago about neural pathways and resetting new neural pathways. And it was just interesting. So I put my watch on the opposite arm and started doing everything with the opposite hand. And it seems like it does actually make a difference in some cases. So, anyways, I couldn't figure out which one it was.
I like these tidbits.
So, anyways.
And okay, this is interesting because I think, I mean, as you can see, my piece of art in the back, I did not create that. A friend did, but I love art. And I love what you're saying about how you used it as a way to heal and forgive yourself and that sort of thing. Where do you live?
Oh, I live in Arizona now. I've been here for the last 30 years. Love the sunshine. Grew up, was born in Southern California. Family moved to Washington State when I was 10 years old, where it rains a lot and it was very cloudy. And that was very difficult to deal with, especially when I was a beach girl and, you know, going to the mountains and camping and family, extended family and family and family. And so anyways, and then married Jonathan and Lauren and Katie's dad. And he was a Marine from West Virginia. So we went to West Virginia for a little while when he got out of the Corps and then decided to go back to Washington. And then I'd had enough rain and I couldn't do it anymore. And I said, I got to get out of here. So anyways, came to Arizona and have been here ever since. So this is home now.
Nice.
So yeah. So
so let's hear about how you first heard about ALD.
Oh, ALD. So ALD came into our life 2 days before Thanksgiving of 1998. I was at work. We were a dual income family. So I was at work and I got a phone call from the school that my son, Jonathan, who was then 9 3/4 years old, had walked into a post on his way to lunch.
Hey.
What? Walked into a post? Like, what? And so, anyways, I said, please let me talk to him. And they put him on the phone. And as I was chatting with him, I'm like, hey, buddy, how you doing? And he was just off. Immediately, I knew something was off. And so I said, put the nurse back on the phone. And I asked her to dial 911. And she said she already had. She had dialed as soon as she saw him talking to me, that just something didn't click. And he was, so I left work, drove to the school where they were strapping him down to a board and said, do you want to go ahead and transport him to the hospital? And I said, no, if he's got a concussion and starts throwing, like, I don't want him to choke or whatever, let's just go. So I followed the ambulance to the hospital and we were there for not very long, maybe an hour. It seemed, I mean, you know, hospitals, it seems like it takes forever, but it really, that day was a long day, but they got us through there with a lot of information really quickly. So they took him and did a CAT scan, and they came back and did a reverse reverse CAT. Is that what it's called? Like infused. I think it was a CAT scan and a reverse CAT. So when they do the infusion, I think they call it a reverse because they want to see it opposite. So they added an infusion and came back in the room and they said, ma'am, you need to sit down. And I said, oh, he's got a concussion, right? And, you know, expecting an extra long Thanksgiving weekend, a few extra Disney movies, sit, relax. And they said, no, ma'am, you just need to sit down, please. And so I sat down and they said, your son has a rare genetic brain disease called adrenoleukodystrophy. Now, mind you, we were in the emergency room. So this radiologist maybe had just gotten out of school or whatever, knew what he was looking at immediately. But that also tells you how advanced things were. So they came in and I didn't understand. I felt like they were speaking a foreign language. I said, please bring me something. And so they bring me a paragraph out of a medical book about this long, maybe 2 paragraphs. Adrenoleukodystrophy is a X-linked genetic disease caused by the ABCD1 gene malfunction. And patients typically are diagnosed sometime between, and it's either infantile, you know, so they give the infant and then they say, or if it's childhood between the ages of 6 and 10, there's usually 2 years of life expectancy after this. and they referenced Lorenzo's oil, and that was all there was.
Oh, goodness.
And I just sat there going, this can't be right. I don't understand. So anyway, so a couple weeks later, we went to LA Children's Hospital. Of course, we had to send out the very long chain fatty acid tests. They moved us to another hospital because they didn't have a pediatric unit there. So they moved us to another hospital and put us in the ICU overnight. And we met this really great neurologist who came in, and he just kept saying, you know what, let's just not call it this until we know for sure. Maybe he just has abnormal variants. Maybe this is just his normal. And he was still functioning is the thing. And so the function, even as the year continued and the illness progressed, according to the brain scan, his function was, he was always better than what his brain scan looked like. But eventually it would catch up. You could, see the waning happening. And so anyways, that was a really, really interesting period of time, to say the least. We, got out of the hospital, and the first thing I did that weekend was watch Lorenzo's Oil, 2-hour movie. Took me about 6.5, maybe 8 hours to watch, because it was just devastating. Like, this is what our life is going to be. Like, it was incomprehensible. So yeah. So on a lighter note, Jonathan, the day his diagnosis was confirmed, he took me by the hand walking out of LA Children's Hospital. His blood work had come back the night before, so we now knew that it was not an abnormal variant. I had gotten a text message while I was standing in the middle of Disneyland, which was always my heaven on earth. And I hear, "When you wish upon a star," and the pager went off, and it was 911. And I called home and got the confirmation. So anyways, next day, we're walking out of LA Children's Hospital, and he looks up at me and takes me by the hand, and he says, "Mommy, don't cry. We will live every day I have left, and when I die, I will be your guardian angel." So this child was sent here on a mission. He really was, is my feeling. He was amazing. And I did watch the movie Lorenzo's Oil, like I said. That was huge in my determination of trying to proceed forward or not. They explained bone marrow transplant to us at LA Children's. They were doing Lorenzo's Oil, but they weren't taking any new patients on the study at that point in time. It was kind of on a hold. They were studying lovastatin for lowering long chain fatty acids in South Carolina, which we later found out, but that was the medication that the endocrinologist prescribed for him in California, at LA Children's. And so he became part of the lovastatin study at a later time, which I was super grateful for, because we were a dual income family. And the first time I had to go get medication, I had a power bill due, and we were all of a sudden down to one income. So I have a power bill and a bottle of medication, and they both were $100. You're not paying the power bill, you're getting the medicine. So
Right.
especially if it might help, right?
Yeah.
But then you go back to there is no cure. And so anyways, we were grateful for what we did have, and for the experience and the opportunity, and the hopefully delayed action. But when they explained bone marrow transplant to us and whatnot, again, I was adopted at birth, so we didn't have any family history. Neither of his sisters were matches. They said if we found a match that was outside of the family, the chances of it being successful were about 7%, at that point in time. And that if it did take, it would be 120 days in the hospital before the bone marrow transplant took effect. And again, back to Lorenzo's Oil, I had watched the movie, and to me, it was about quality of life, not quantity. Again, he said, "We're going to live every day I have left." And I wish I had put some of the pictures together now. I mean, he had an amazing last year. He had his Make-A-Wish. He went to Dallas and watched the Dallas Cowboys play football. He
Cool.
loved Deion
Nice.
Sanders, and that was his thing. But then his grandfather got him. Jonathan loved Adam Sandler, so we went and spent a day at Sony Picture Studio on the back lot. Jonathan and Adam playing hoops in the back lot of Sony
That's
Cool.
Picture
awesome.
Studio, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was traveling through town and stopped and signed a basketball for him at the hotel. So
Yes.
that basketball was his passion, and he definitely had his opportunities. His first seizure was at his first basketball game, however. That was no bueno.
Mm.
But anyway, so that was our introduction to ALD.
Mhm.
And here we are.
Yeah.
So now.
So I just have a couple questions first.
Yeah,
And it looks like
absolutely.
Ken does too.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to go back.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
Jonathan walking into the pool at school.
Oh, yes.
Was that the first time that something
It was
had
not his
happened?
not
Like-
his first head injury. Not his first head
Okay.
injury. But he started complaining, and this is the part where I get frustrated, but looking back in retrospect, see things different.
True.
When I asked him about it, he said, "Mom, I had double vision. There were two poles and I was going to go between them." So strabismus had already started, and that is where I know and understand that whole blurry thing. If you don't have prisms in your glasses to pull your eyes together or to regulate the way you see, you may have double vision, and that was what had happened. So he walked into the post, but it was not his first head injury. He'd been hit in the head with a baseball bat a couple years earlier, but he also was a child who started complaining of headaches, and they always said that headaches have nothing to do with ALD, and I'm like, I don't understand how your brain could be malfunctioning and you're trying to figure things out, and how that could not be somewhat painful. So
Right.
I still don't know that I believe that, in all honesty. I mean, and there are a million reasons for headaches. I mean, it could have been food allergies or whatever, but I don't know very many 5 and 6-year-old children that come to parents and say, "I got a headache. Like my head
Yeah.
hurts." And
Yeah.
I had headaches, but my headaches, looking back now that we finally figured out this year what my eye situation was. And again, I mentioned before the call that I had to change my glasses because I have an eye that's wandering upward. And it had been, they have to do a specific test and look for a specific thing. And when I would go in and say, they say, "Well, read the lowest line you can." Well, I know what I can read. I mean, I can read the letters on the wall. It doesn't mean that they're easy to read or whatever. And I was very good at following directions. I was always good at following directions. And so I think that ability to fit in line and follow directions is why it was not ever notated that, oh, yeah. So I am the one who thinks that because we all have the ABCD1 gene defect, that girls are affected from the get-go. They just don't present the same way as boys do.
Yeah.
And this is the part that I have become probably what I'm most known for and become very vocal about. I don't like to just keep dismissing, because we are now on third generation. I didn't understand it with Lauren because Jonathan had just passed away, and she was just tough and difficult and hard to get. She had her own program. She was going to do it her way. And I was that kind of kid. And my granddaughter Emma is that kid. And most kids, I think, are trying to find their own way.
Yeah.
But there are many children, and at least the ones who I know, who do follow directions when they're given a direction from a parent. They are able to, but some of my babies, not all of them, but some of my babies have emotional dysregulation, and I'm pretty sure that I do too. and that's where it started. I mean, for me, but I got in line. Like I said, I like to follow directions. So
Mm.
my emotions were shut down a lot growing up, and I stored a lot of things. And I can't help but think the things that I've learned in the more recent years, that a lot of that has to do with, a lot of that caused stress, and that stress building up over decades leads to symptoms.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very
And it's
fascinating.
only a hypothesis at this point,
Yeah.
because there is no way to test it, except for to continue to look forward. But I see too many things that are similar along the lines with my girls who are carriers, and things that I now see looking back in retrospect for myself that are part of ALD. And that's the part that's frustrating.
Yeah.
I know how many times my mother would take me to the doctors. And this is probably partially why I recognized Jonathan's illness, because my mother would take me to the doctors because my ankles hurt and I was having trouble with walking. I did have to wear shoes, the kind on a bar as an infant. Because my foot turned in, but that was because the doctor at 2 weeks old notated that I had a tight left hip. It never did completely resolve the problem. And even now, I'm just starting to be able to strengthen my leg muscles, because I finally have been able to loosen the tight left hip that I didn't even know that that's what the problem was. We'd go to the hospital because I would say my stomach hurts. I'm going to stand up for a second, right? Right here. And I would be like, I'd be doubled over in pain. So I must have an ovarian cyst. I must have, and oh, it's not a cyst. Well, then it must, then it's your bowels, it's your this, it's your that. And they always could find something else that they could relate it to that was a common everyday thing. And looking back now, the pain is still there. I've had a hysterectomy. I don't have the same, bowel problems kind of thing. Not like I did. Now it's just incontinence. But anyways, we have to have
So
ALD humor where we can.
yeah, well, yeah. Now
Either laugh or
incontinence
cry.
is so I think what I'm hearing you say though is that like your symptoms growing up were dismissed or
So I dismissed
maybe
Jonathan's.
downplayed. And so you dismissed Jonathan. So maybe, and who before they know about the ALD diagnosis is on the lookout for like neurological stuff, right? Like no
Exactly.
parent is looking for things unless you're screened at newborn screen. So that makes sense.
And that is why I think it is super important. I think that we can look at this one of two ways. And this is what I do. And I go back and forth, and we've been on enough calls together that you guys kind of know, but I have the last couple years for me have been really tough, as I have been back in this world. I had kind of stepped away for a while because I felt like it was just too much. And if I think about all of the problems that could happen, I can't keep putting one foot in front of the other. So I stepped away for a while. But I came back when I no longer could put one foot in front of the other and get myself up the stairs. I had a massive headache a few years ago. I'm pretty sure COVID induced, because none of us escaped that, either one way or the other. And that was, another really difficult time. But I started having problems with my legs at that point again. It's gone back and forth, ups and downs. And now, 2 years ago, after I started having problems with that, I went to see my PA, and I'm like, I don't want any more drugs. I did all of the things years ago, 10 years ago. I was on baclofen. I was on, gabapentin. I was on, and I watched my stepmother be medicated, and she had what they thought was a stroke. And they took her off the medication when she went to the hospital. And she went from being pretty sedentary and just kind of to all of a sudden she was vibrant again. when they took her off those medications. And I thought, you know what, if that's what's going to happen because I'm taking them, I can't do it anymore. And that's just personal experience. I'm not telling anybody to stop their medicines or anything. But for me at that point, that was my decision. Then I did continue to take pain pill every day for 10 years because I had tried to apply for disability and I was denied. And so I would get up in the morning, I would pop a hydrocodone and I'd start moving. And as long as I started moving, I could keep moving. But it also impeded the receptors. And so I only exacerbated my symptoms is what basically ended up happening. So now I won't take pain medication because I don't want to mask what's happening. I finally need to listen to my body because my body's been trying to speak to me for a long time and I put it on ignore.
Okay. Yeah. And so many women and men, but women are notorious, right? For doing this, I have to say.
Yes.
It's like,
yeah.
Everybody else kind of comes first, especially when you're a mom.
Yep. 100%.
So, all right. I want to just go back again for a second here. Jonathan is 9 when he gets diagnosed. Is that right?
6 months to a year. He passed away 13 months later. So
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to go back and acknowledge that. Okay. That is
thank you.
Such a tremendous loss.
Thank you.
For a mom. So. All right, Ken, is it time for our big $1 million question?
I think it is time. It's a great conversation. So if you could live one day without ALD, what are you doing?
Well, it's what I'm not doing, or what I'm going to live that day with no pain, which means that I will do everything that I'm doing right now, but I will be doing it steady without falling down. I will be doing it without pain. I will be doing it faster, and I will be able to know that my body and my mind are working in synchronization rather than this constant battle.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love it.
So, and I don't care about going to Olive Garden. I went there last week for Emma's birthday. I just didn't have any fettuccine Alfredo.
What happens with fettuccine Alfredo? I mean, we're on ALD No Limits. Janine, tell us.
Oh no, Maddie already took care of that for me.
Is it the fettuccine or is it the unlimited breadsticks?
It's the Alfredo. Oh no, I had the breadsticks. I had breadsticks.
Okay.
It's definitely the Alfredo.
Heard it here first, folks. Watch out for that Alfredo.
Yeah, if you struggle with bowel dysfunction, you might want to stay away from fettuccine Alfredo at Olive Garden.
At Olive Garden, specifically.
That's right. Oh.
We're not getting endorsement from Olive Garden now, are we?
Definitely not.
No, probably not.
The
but there's unlimited salad. Unlimited salad is always good.
That's true. Yeah. That is true. Well, Janine, thanks so much for chatting with us today. I feel like there's so much more to say, and we might have you back on our guest panel of folks talking about all sorts of no limits things, right?
That would be
right.
Well, I would definitely be down for that, and maybe a little more. Maybe I could be a little more in my box. I have a tendency.
You were great.
Yeah.
Every direction, all at the same time.
We are no limits. Remember,
that's right. Well, I bet you have a lasso. You can rein me in from time to time.
I don't know. I'm not a cowboy. That's for a cowgirl. That's for sure. But to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe, give us some love.
Thanks you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.